I can't believe I'm about to say what I'm about to say, but I'm about to say it because, people, I'm not even gonna lie, My Hero Academia's manga right now, after chapter 331, the battle between America, the United States' #1 hero, versus the godlike creature that he has, well, should we call him the godlike creature that he's become, considering now he's an amalgamation, but nevertheless, Shigaraki, or All for Shigaraki, All for One combined with Shigaraki, whatever the heck this new combination of sorts is. This battle has been insane, and when it comes to the #1 hero of the United States, Stars and Stripe, or Star and Stripe, oh my god. For starters, it actually is really triggering that I can't say Stars and Stripes. Like, fam, this character though, a lot needs to be said. There's a lot that I got to say, because in general, the My Hero Academia manga is very fascinating, my relationship with this series. I ain't gonna lie. Like, every series, you have a different type of relationship of how you feel about it, the ups and downs and whatnot. With My Hero Academia in particular, I've noticed that when it has its lows, I get distance from it. I'm like, I read it, whatever, I'd be like, okay, let's get to something dope. But when it has its highs, I be like, oh my god, I can't freaking wait for the next chapter. Oh my god, I feel like this is my favorite manga right now. Like, that's something really dope about My Hero Academia, that at times, like, during the war of the last arc, prior to the Lady Nagant, Deku, solo hero stuff, like before that big war stuff, almost every chapter I was like, yo, I can't even believe it right now. My hero has become my favorite. My hero is my favorite right now. And I feel like that again, ever since Star and Stripe, which we've only been with her for about, 4 chapters, I feel like, oh my god, My Hero, it kind of feels like my favorite right now again. And I don't know, there's a lot of manga that I read or whatnot, but it just, it gets like that with me sometimes, especially when you introduce a new character. One of the big things about My Hero Academia for the longest time, up until the All for One battle with All Might was my favorite character, hands down. I used to always say it was All Might, and then I was like, well, maybe, Todoroki or whatever, but it was really All Might. And then following that, we've had, the longest absence of my favorite character. He's just like a sideline guy, he helps from time to time, and he has his important roles, but it's never been the same with that character. But then you introduce a female version that is way more badass than All Might ever could have hoped to be. Cassie, I am right here. Come save me. Down bad world. Oh my god. Yes, people, we've got to talk about it, because we got the ins and outs of the quirk of this godly creature, the stand quirk, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure quirk is here with Cassie, Star and Stripe versus All for Shigaraki, because this is absolutely insane. Let's get into it.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Okay, so 331 opens up with Star and Stripe basically being blown back, confused, so to speak, at what the heck is going on, because y'all know it was last chapter that Star and Stripe tried to use her quirk, and it wasn't effective because Shigaraki himself, or All for One, whoever this person is, doesn't even know who they are at this point, because they're combined together. Essentially, All for One was downloading his whole entire consciousness, except 2% is still Shigaraki, so it's technically not anybody at this point. It's both of them. And she's also confused as to why Shigaraki's hair got longer, which kind of makes me a little bit confused as to why his hair got longer. I mean, I'm guessing it's just like a blowback of like his rage or something like that. Think of like Super Saiyan 3, like, I don't necessarily know why, because like initially you would think, well, maybe it got long because All for One is downloading his consciousness, but All for One never in any of the flashbacks we've seen at the very least had like really long hair, so I'm guessing that's just like a byproduct, something that's not really closely to be examined as to why the hair got longer. Although Horikoshi pointing it out via Star and Stripe definitely makes me a little bit question, like, who knows, maybe at one point in his life before he became suave and debonair, All for One maybe had long hair. Because again, at this point, like I've said, he's 98% downloaded into this body of Tomura. And Star and Stripe is also wondering what the heck happened, why didn't her quirk work, which it's really, with this chapter, Horikoshi wanted to make sure to give us the ins and outs of this quirk, because yes, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it is very broken. This chapter, it looked like she felt like God to a certain degree, and a lot of the rules behind it is what stops it from completely being like, okay, this woman is God, hands down, because there are some limitations to it, and we get into the ins and outs of that. Because Shigaraki basically says, okay, now I'm starting to get an understanding, I get it, of how this new order quirk works. Because it's overpowered, but it still has its own restraints, which again, that is very necessary, because if you just have a character walking around like God, then it'll be like, imagine Superman at his prime, where he's blowing away galaxies with a single breath and like that. Like that would be horrible. And I love how integral to everything, like Horikoshi wanted to make sure every big stereotype that is out there, and the way honestly the rest of the world looks at America, he wanted to staple it on every aspect when it comes to Star and Stripe, her quirk, everything that she is all about, everything that is represented right now that we've seen thus far with Star and Stripe, because he's like, bam, the government oversees her quirk, even though the general public gets a, basic idea based on seeing her using it or whatnot. The government has control of her quirk, which that sounds about right when it comes to U.S. Like, no, we're gonna have full control. Like, that's our biggest weapon. We got to make sure we control our biggest weapon. We've seen it time and time again, like in even comic books and stuff like that, how Superman, his relationship with the government and stuff like that. Like, that sounds par for the course with the United States of, that's our weapon. We're gonna have the final say-so on it. And we start getting the ins and outs of her quirk of, there's essentially a limit to how much she could power herself up using her quirk. Like, she can't just like say, my punch can destroy the planet Earth. That's how much strength. Like, it's basically explaining that there's like a barometer with a level cap essentially of how strong she could do things. Because again, if not, she could literally say stuff like that, like, my punch can blow up planet Earth, and then boom, her strength is ridiculously enhanced to some unrealistic level. But there's no limit to how far she could incapacitate somebody. So essentially she can't arbitrarily affect other things that she hasn't touched as well. So like when she's hitting Shigaraki, she can't make it that, oh, if I hit Shigaraki, the impact is going to destroy everything behind them. Like, this isn't a Death Note. There's a little bit more nuance to her ability, even though Death Note had a lot of nuance to it as well. There was rules, but yeah, like, giving it limitations is necessary because, again, make no mistake about it, this is a very overpowered quirk. This is why Horikoshi, I'm imagining, made sure to put it as, oh, this is the #1 of the United States of America, because this is redonkulous. And also the rules thing, because again, it's a little bit tricky with some of these quirks where, okay, because her reality didn't mesh with the reality of who Shigaraki is, because again, he doesn't even necessarily know. Like, if Shigaraki knew what he is, like, no, if he decided right now, I am all for one, and in fact, I could see that possibly happening somewhere down the road. I don't know about if it's going to happen in this fight, maybe at a different point in the manga, but eventually, if they were to establish in their mind, I am so-and-so, and even refer to themselves as I am so-and-so, to give Star and Stripe the indication that, okay, this is who they are, who they claim to be at this point, then her rules will be able to affect them. So if he was to say right now, you know what, I'm all for one, that's it, or who I am now is a totally different person, I'm Greg. If he was to say, you know what, that's my identity now, my name is Greg, that's who I am, that's his reality, then boom, she could affect him. But of course he's not going to do that, because that would be very foolish. Also, I couldn't see in any other reality him deciding, you know what, I went from Tomura Shigaraki and all for one, I'm gonna call myself Greg. But it kind of made me wonder as well, right? Because it has to mesh well with the realities of both parties. I wonder if she was to say, let's just say, for example, the dude 6 feet in front of me with the long white hair and the black coat, he, whatever. Like, if she was to establish a rule by using those type of logistics, would it actually work on him? Because, yeah, in his reality, he's the dude with the long white hair and the, black clothing. So that's something that kind of piques my interest a little bit. Like, she couldn't just say that. Like, she has to say their quote-unquote government name or who they truly feel they are. Because that would be like basically saying, like, okay, if you call air something in a different language, like, oh, it's not going to work when you know what I'm saying? And we're getting little inklings of the new identity that whoever this creature is at this point, some of his personality traits, so to speak, because he's getting this overzealous urge to test out Star and Stripe's quirk, just kind of play around essentially. Like, this isn't something that All For One definitely would be about, because All For One is about getting the job done. I mean, I guess you could argue like he would want to test it out, but probably he would want to test it out himself, not necessarily like, hey, let me go into a battle that could possibly kill me. That's probably more of Shigaraki, slightly of his, juvenile characteristic, but even then, Shigaraki really wouldn't care about that aspect. He just wants to destroy. So again, I feel like this is something new coming from whatever this person is at this point. To which Star and Stripe tells one of the soldiers, basically send word to Commander Agpar. I want to say it was Agpar, because apparently she has special authority, and she's like, what better time to use it than now, even though, again, she disobeyed the U.S. government, and y'all know how it works, especially if we're getting all these tropes now. Just think of every movie you've ever seen, every live-action film where it has, like, the U.S. government and stuff like that. She's going to have some dire consequences. I don't know exactly what they're going to try to pull when it comes to her, but there's going to be some severe things, as even talked about a little bit more down the road in the chapter that we're going to get into. But yeah, yeah, there's gonna be some consequences, unfortunately, to like this goddess of a character. And in case you can't tell, yes, people, in 4 chapters, I have become a massive fanboy of Star and Stripe. I really love this character. She's so freaking awesome. She's different. She's unique. She's strong as hell. Maybe that's also what I love about it. The fact that this is a OP female lead that has these incredible powers. It's just really cool. But Star and Stripe at the same time, some of the characteristics that I'm not too fond of per se, is when she starts with, again, that condescending tone that I'm like, oh my god, that's that, we are America, I am a real it just felt so much like, again, the stereotype that you will see of where she's like, this punk has graduated from a Japanese menace, you know, a menace to Japan, to a worldwide threat. We gotta use tactics that Japan lacks. And when she said that right there, I'm like, you just had to, like, you could take that line out and it doesn't sound condescending, but once you add in, yeah, we gotta use power, basically, that Japan doesn't have, so to speak, to make sure he is dead. We gotta make him dead. I was like, that one line is what, again, adds to the stereotypes of like, why you gotta say that Japan is lacking right now? I'm just saying, like, I get it, you ain't really lying considering they couldn't take him out, but Star and Stripe, Cassie, you make me conflicted. Stop. And I love also how, again, it gives this, like, commander, you know, this pecking order, so to speak, where she's talking to her soldiers, like, yo, just give me a place to land my feet, essentially allow me to not fall, and we're Gucci right now, because she's about to do some crazy and ultimately they're like, okay, bet. There is some type of camaraderie between her and her soldiers, and I think that there's a genuine caring as well. Like, you don't get inspired by All Might and become any type of piece of or whatnot. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of those elements that Horikoshi continues to insert of, like, you know, USA, we are the best. But ultimately, if you're inspired by All Might, you're gonna have the same type of heart as him as well, right? Especially if you're becoming the #1 hero and stuff like that, you're gonna try to model yourself after him, and that's the type of vibe I get with the camaraderie, even in the flashback between her and her soldiers, and how she calls them bros and stuff like that. Like, there's a genuine bond there. She's actually like a benevolent person, despite, again, all the bravado and all the condescending that comes out of her mouth from time to time. And when she said, when we die together, if Horikoshi decides to kill off the #1 hero, Star and Stripe, after making this amazing character, I would be deathly shocked. I don't think it would happen, just being honest with you. Like, you know, it is what it is. These are shown in manga. But that would be freaking insane if, like, all the soldiers died along with Star and Stripe. Or I could see her trying to, you know, do everything she can, and then, like, some crazy gonna happen with inserting that line. Either all the soldiers are gonna die, or Horikoshi could really go that extra mile and kill off all of them, which, again, I don't see that happening. Also, something interesting to note, she looks brolic as hell outside of her costume. I ain't gonna lie, she kinda had the same build as, if anybody's read the Hunters Guild Red Hood, it was like one of the teachers in the exam or whatnot. Like, she kinda had that type of brolic stance. I was like, okay, I see where the inspiration came from. To which she goes into her next attack, where she says, new rule, the air forms into my shape, but 1,000 times bigger, thus creating an amazing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure-esque stand ability. And I ain't gonna lie, it was godlike, it was crazy, it was insane. And again, I don't even think we've seen any type of scale battle to this degree in My Hero Academia. With everything that's happened, we've seen some crazy battles. The last war was huge. We've seen Endeavor Throwdown, we've seen All Might versus All for One, all sorts of stuff. But she's creating giant freaking air monsters that look like stands and attack. Like, this is some next level stuff. On top of that, she's riding on these Black Hawk freaking jets, and, like, this is crazy. This is, again, when you're adding in all of the insanity of, like, the #1 hero from the United States, of their weaponry and the way they think. Like, again, Horikoshi really thought a lot of these things through. Like, one of the stereotypes that, you know, people have about Americans is that, oh, they want everything bigger, grander, better. What way to demonstrate that than to showcase her using her quirk to make herself 1,000 times bigger? There's a science behind everything that Horikoshi is showing with her, make no mistake about it. And I believe it's called Fist Bump to the Earth, and she has just this giant image swinging at Shigaraki, or whatever the heck you want to call him, and it's so epic, so epic. I ain't gonna lie, I know I'm just fanning over the freaking epicness of the action, but I gotta stress that this looks really dope. And oh my god, Studio Bones, whenever we get to this, because it'll probably be 2 years removed from now when we actually see this animated, don't play, Bones, don't play. And she goes on to say that it looks like the only way to defeat this guy is to bust him down to atoms, because, again, you know, he can regenerate from damn near anything. They've done everything they possibly could, and he still came back. So yeah, she's trying straight up to obliterate, smithereens, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, get this crusty motherfucker the up out of here. And it goes even further. Again, I just can't get over it. I can't get over all of the freaking American stereotypes. She's like, bros, give me a taste of those lasers. And they do United Hyper Max Output Laser Combine, and it combines into one, and it is just a monstrosity where the image of her 1,000 times bigger, her quirk slashing down where it looks like lightning. And I ain't gonna lie, it is a little bit crazy, but I guess it also demonstrates just what type of threat they're facing, that realistically Shigaraki should be donezo. Like, realistically, or whatever you want to call him, this is all like, how much can Deku, even with everything that we've seen him do thus far, how much can he really do? Like a punch? How is that going to take out this creature that can regenerate? Like, you know, this is the type of artillery, realistically speaking, that you would need if you're not going to go on some, you know, let's just say, oh, this is all for every generation and a punch is going to obliterate. Like, this is the type of firepower you need to take out something that can continuously regenerate. Like, if Star and Stripe was the main character, this would be the end game. So a part of me feels like, if this ain't going to be able to take this dude out, then how is Deku with a punch or, you know, a combination even of his quirks going to be able to do it when Star and Stripe is in another league as Deku? Let's not get it twisted. Like, Deku is up there, right? He's probably, at this point, he would be a pro hero, let's just say. But there's no competition between Deku and Star and Stripe. Realistically, Deku shouldn't even be able to hold a candle to this dude if Star and Stripe can't take him out. Like, that's just reality. So I feel a little bit like, man, this is where plot comes in, that she's not going to be able to take him out. Like, I hope that he runs for his life. Like, that's the big thing. Like, right now, I feel like that would be the best way to not cheap out what's happening here with Star and Stripe. Either that, or he barely survives and then, like, does some sort of sneak attack to take her from behind. Because other than that, realistically speaking, this should be the W right here. This is way too much power, 1,000 times bigger, all these laser beams, boom, boom, boom. This should be over. When she stabs down with the beams and everything, Coronos, that should be the end all. Like, and again, epic, 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 epic. Yes, this is a fanboy video. Who cares? And the crazy thing about it is, which again kind of builds up even further, of Horikoshi, you're getting dangerously close to making your villain too unstoppable, because while, you know, all the soldiers are like, yo, this is a non-stop blast, like, this is going to be it for him, Star and Stripe is like, well, if that was the case, if non-stop blast would have taken him out, then Endeavor would have been able to do it. But obviously he couldn't, so therefore this is not enough. And if this is not enough, this is getting to be a threat that is like, it's giving me vibes of, remember when towards the end of Naruto where Kishimoto was like, I don't even know how to take out Madara at this point, I've made him 2 hacks. That's the type of vibe I'm getting right now. And finally, the commander, which you could tell that she still falls in line. The commander says, Star. She says, yes, Captain Agpar, or, you know, Sir Agpar, whatever. That's right there, you know that Star and Stripe is still a team player. Because there's going to be repercussions. What we talked about earlier in this video, hands down, Star and Stripe is going to go through it. They're going to do some stuff to Star and Stripe, because at the end of the day, Agpar says, you know, this is going to cost you more than just your license, right? Which means that after this battle, she's not even going to be a superhero, but even worse, because I could imagine they would try to use and contain this quirk. Like, to them, this quirk belongs to the United States of America. I wouldn't be surprised if they've already created machines where they could remove the quirk, put it in a bottle, and give it to somebody else. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what's going to happen. This will probably be Cassie's last bout as the #1 hero, or as a hero in general. For all we know, she could have been born with a whole different quirk, and this was given to her by the United States of America after she trained up to obtain this position as a hero. But the special favor is ready. The strike is imminent. Japan has been notified, which that just goes to show what type of strike this is going to be. And the audacity, which again, Horikoshi, he's doing it. I know I've said Horikoshi is doing it in Epic. I get it, but I'm just really excited, okay? Because with all of that being said, Agpar is like, well, you know, your defiance, even though we're gonna punish you, but your defiance made us shine even brighter. Basically saying that, yeah, the United States got more clout for what she did. Crazy. Like, is people talking about it on Twitter and on the news that important, considering the state of the world? We have a worldwide threat here now. But all right, yeah, we see where the priorities lie. Clout. United States are clout chasers confirmed. And here's something that I kind of felt was a little bit wrong, because Agpar says, yo, this is the villain that even All Might couldn't properly put an end to, which that's not accurate per se, because for starters, nobody really knows what's going on here with Shigaraki All For One thingy. They don't really know that that's All For One alongside Shigaraki in that body, and All Might never really faced off against him. I mean, I guess if they're referring to like the first time he broke into the school, Shigaraki and stuff like that, or they're just meaning as a collective because he's been linked to All For One, but I felt like that was just slightly off because this isn't All For One, and they don't know that All For One is inside of Shigaraki's body, you know, inhabiting some of it or whatever, 98% of it. But he says, prepare to surpass him, Cassie, which I genuinely think after all is said and done, they're going to remove her quirk. This is going to be her final bout, and her dreams of, you know, reaching the heights of All Might is going to come to fruition. But I feel like that quirk, they have the capabilities. They're going to remove her quirk after this and give it to somebody else. That's my theory. Because we even see a photo of when All Might had rescued her as a child and everything. And, yeah, the missiles. Yo, the United States have been in this manga for 4 freaking chapters. The number one hero has been here for 4 chapters, and we're already seeing missiles, yo. Missiles named Tiamat, state-of-the-art hypersonic intercontinental cruise missiles, and yeah, chapter ends there, which I have no doubt in my mind the missiles aren't going to be able to do anything either. This is kind of like an ideal clashing between Japan and America. Reminds me of like Godzilla, how a lot of, you know, Japanese, they hated the Godzilla one that was made by America so much that they renamed it Zilla because they were like, oh, United States thinks that all their missiles can always solve every problem. Like this was a real thing with, you know, the whole Godzilla films or whatnot. I want to say it was like a director or something. So yeah, this once again kind of feels like that type of battle, so to speak, on a different level. But overall, I freaking love this chapter. I love the epicness of it. I love all of the stereotypes and tropes that Horikoshi inserted regarding Star and Stripe. I love just the epic nature of it, the scaling. We've never seen a battle at this rate before with giant freaking godlike. Amazing. Very curious what you guys think about this, though. How is it all going to play out? Do you think my theory that they're going to remove Cassie's quirk, there will be no more Star and Stripe after all is said and done? You think there's a possibility that that's not her actual form? Now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if it's similar to All Might. Now, we did see that one thing of her out of uniform where she was like, you know, still muscular, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is similar to All Might and her actual form might not be this big hulking woman. Just a thought there as well. And your overall thoughts and expectations. How is this going to play out? Do you think Shigaraki is going to kill Cassie in the end? Just a lot of questions, but really great stuff. Again, My Hero Academia, when it gets great, it's great. Word to Tony the Tiger. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule. Anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and shout out to Star and Stripe, baby. Star and Stripe, come save me. No. Have an awesome one.
You are what I know, so just go to find me.